Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rick here. It's Rick here, yes sir, with another lesson from our beautiful Bible. I'm trying to find a bright spot in it, and of course, the last couple times that I've come on here ain't been so bright a time. You know, I'm telling you, between the all these ideas about death, and the death planet, and stuff like that, and how Jesus or how God's wrath has taken out half our brain and caused us to walk around on earth dead all the time. Well, that's a terrible shame. Terrible shame. So I moved on a little further down the road and I came across this one here, this habakkuk book. I had never read this book before in my life, but it was only 3 chapters long. I said, I think I could do that. I think I could do that. There's only 3 chapters. And usually 3 chapters means, divine intervention. Well, wow. Well, I got that divine intervention we've been learning that Jesus has been working out of both hands. His right hand does not know what the left hand's been doing, or does it? Just think about that. Because when it comes down to it, he is dishing out this shit and he's also turning around and fixing us at the same time. That's some shit, dude. That's some crazy shit. All right. But we're unveiling this piece by piece, and even though it doesn't necessarily all that have to make sense to us, the thing is that when we finally get through it, good riddance. All right. Goodness. Well, in these stories, most of them, Bible, all of them, all these stories are about us living, growing up, and being birthed on this earth, this death planet of ours, to go through hell and look for God. If we just happen to be in that lower side of the world where, God, we're looking for God for damn sure. We are looking to be redeemed. Come and help me, save me, God. But our focus has been on the outside, looking for something coming from the sky, someplace, somewhere from outside of us. And a good number of us have fallen on religion, and that's where the snare is. That's what's all buttered up and all juiced up, ready to go. It's come on in. This is the way it works, and it is the works. It's the business of spirituality. So do we get anything different? We get this habakkuk book, and what happens? He winds up same story. This is a divine intervention, except it's taking us on the opposite way, and we're hearing this from a prophet. So a prophet is someone who talks to God, and you know right off the bat that if you're going to be talking with God, you're going to be in spirit mode. God doesn't talk to people in their skin, their flesh and stuff like that. You have to be in spirit mode. And so he's up there talking with God, And he says, it's woe is me. This is number 1, whichever one's number 1. The same situation. There's nobody here. There's nobody to listen to me. Nobody's listening to you. The law is corrupt. There's nothing. All I see is iniquity everywhere. It's around me. It surrounds me. It's everywhere. Lord, why is that all you show me? What happens? What's going on? This would be the question and the burden that this guy has on his back, this habakkuk book. All right. I have it too. Look at me. I have 10, 12 people that want to listen. It's the same thing I would say, Lord, and I do, and I feel terrible sometimes. Not, I won't say terrible, but every now and then I get a little like kind of down that there's nobody that wants to hear any of this stuff. So I make light of it and think my friends are like airing this out at a local bar somewhere and having a good giggle. But If they ask, I'll come up and I'll do a lesson right in front of them. I can get them to giggle right in front of me. I can have some fun. I got to put an angle on this to see if I can get people to like it more. So maybe I could put some kind of humor into it and help out. So, you know, then I can thank my friends for bringing me out of the closet on this idea of how to teach people about the Lord, you know, and not be so down in the dumps about it, you know. But basically, what we have been learning from all of these stories is that God is not with a great number of us on earth, and it deems us to be on this dead side. And this is reflected in this Habakkuk book by this idea that nothing's working, you know. But then it says that, you know, God says, well, I did raise up, and this is on number 6 up there. I think I got it called out over here, over this way. So dyslexic. So on 6, which is about the works, you know, which is when you raise someone up, this is this place where you get raised up from is right there. It's on the 6th chakra, Jacob's ladder. And so he says, you know, what did we say here? What does it say on there? Oh gosh. He raised up the Chaldeans. Chaldeans. If you look up what Chaldeans means, that's the robbers. Those are as demons. These are the people that are going to run through the breast of this. The breast of it. This is where the breast of God. This is where the food is. They're going to come in here. This is the midst. This is us. They're going to trample around in there, and they're going to take over places that ain't theirs. This is the robbers and all those guys. So this is where the Chaldeans wind up showing up. On the 4th kingdom in our brains, representing the spiritual side, is full of the robbers and demons. This is who occupies that spot that we call the grievous head wound that God gives us with the 10th plague, with the Passover. When he passes over, it kills people. This is this idea that, and we're born this way, so we don't actually have to wait for some kind of a plague to hit us. We've already got the plague. These stories are telling us we come in, we're already plagued. So it says they're going to trample over. So yeah, this place has already been given away. It's already gone. Someone's got it, you know. And that's what you get in the first part of this. Let's see, what else does it say? Let's see. So I don't want to turn on the damn thing. It says what they're going to do is he's going to make men fishes of the sea. Remember, that's what the whole idea is to become. Jesus is going to teach his men how to be fishers of the seas. And there's this idea of dragging the net, which is tossing your net you're over to the right side of the boat. But when you're on the left side of your mind, you're just dragging. And you're pulling men up. And men are as many as fish. And they're calling them creepy things. Creepy things are things that can go anywhere they want. Fish can go anywhere they want. Creepy things can go anywhere they want. So they don't have anyone ruling over them. So they're like wild beasts of the fields and stuff like that. So are you catching on to this? You know, so, you know, it says that here's these first 1, 2, and 3. You know, usually a 1, 2, 3 is a good thing, but this is towards the end of the first part, the first chapter. We get this because we'll take up. This is number 1. Take up all of them that are in the angle. This is going to represent 1. They're going to be taken up by an angle. This is a fish. This is like the fishing. You're going to be trawled out of the water. You're going to be. The angle is not a straightaway. It's something that's, you know, I've only just gotten onto this one here, but make straight the way for the Lord. And this angle is going not straight. It's going a different direction. And it has to do with fishing. All right? They get drawn. They said they catch them with their nets and they gather them with their drag, and then they rejoice and are glad in it. So this is about religion and or the spiritual side of us, that we are caught with an angle and we caught up in the net. This is number two, is catch them in the net. Number one is about the God or whatever one would be the angle. And I think that what we have is, they said that they call it God, but we get Father instead, because God delivers us and Father takes us on the ride. That's what we get. All right, and that they just become rejoiced in this. Now, just underneath that one, if you are opening up your Bibles and stuff like that, you got it going on. It winds up being that we sacrifice the net, and we use the incense to give our prayers. That's what they're talking about, prayers. So we're doing an outside thing to get an inside thing to work. But this is talking about outside. This is how you're going to get your prayers over with now. And this is how it's going to go. It's an outside thing for you now, not an inside thing. All right. Then we get to that second one. The second one becomes like, I am going to put the first couple of remarks in that are about meditation. He's going to stand a watch, and he's going to hang out in a tower, and he's going to wait to find out what God has to say about what his questions is. He's going to be not reprimanded, but he's going to be corrected in some way. But that's not how it is. He's just going to ask the question, what is it, Dad? We'll call him Dad. What made you mad? What's caused this trouble? Why, was it the waters? Did you do something bad was you had something wrong with the insides? Was there something wrong with the tree? Was there something wrong with this? Was there something wrong with that? He said, hey, listen, guys are just a bunch of pains in the ass is what you are. But let's look at this real fast and see if we can get something out. 8 becomes it's men's blood. If this was a 4, this was a 4. Men's blood is not spirit, so it's the spirit of man. So it's an idea of God's word, Jesus. It becomes, if it's man's blood, then it's the word of men. It's not God's blood. All right. So man's blood takes over, which is the spirit, the mental, the conscious of us. Our conscious mind, the West, is the first one. They're going to call it man's blood because this is man's law, all right? Because the spirit is what's represented of the law of God, not of man. Number 2 represents our emotional side, the North. What do we get out of it? We get violence of the land and of the city. The body is the city, the mind. This is the nation. This is the body itself. When they talk about, polluting the nations and stuff like that, or drawing all the nations together, they're talking about our body. They're talking about the congregation. They're talking about our brethren. They're bringing them all together. All right. Look here. It says a stone will cry out of the wall, and a beam will answer. Well, there's a timber. What it's saying is you're going to have a desire. You're going to want to know something, and another part of you is going to answer. You're not going to be able to get the answer that you were looking for with your prayer going to God. You're going to be the stone's going to come from the wall. A question will come out, and an answer will come from someplace else. So you'll be fooling yourself if you play along those rules. All right. And it says here, and woe to you that gives your neighbor a drink and becomes drunken as well as you do. This is your child. This is your brother. This is your thing. It dulls you. It takes you away, and it's not really meaning getting drunk, but this idea that not only are you fucked up, but your messenger is out now as well. This is the messenger is your soul. He is drunk off his mind too. He's following whatever you tell it to do, you know. But this idea of being drunken is that you're just, you're what do they say, that when people get drunk and stuff like that, that their judgment's off, that they're most all the time, 100%, it's going to be wrong. All right. And then it finishes up on 20. This should be very telling. 2 represents him, makes as you, it's his creation, which is you in your mind. He says on 20, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Do you understand that? The Lord is here still, but it says, but the earth shall let all the earth keep silent before him. Did you catch that? Let all of the earth be silent. See, the thing is that you are the Lord. You're still the Lord. You are still occupying this body, but at this particular time, it's just him. It's Father. He hasn't introduced you to this mother yet, this mother. He hasn't even himself, well, for me it did. To me, just this. Rick, I've had enough of this shit, motherfucker. Get up there and meet your mama. I had enough, So I done did it. Okay, so now it's everybody else's turn to try this as well. Be it your time. It shouldn't hurt to have to, just because you just found out, go knocking on the door. All it takes is that you have to love God first, or fear it and then love him, something like that. But God has to come first. This business of the Bible has to come first. It has to. It's part of the works. So anyways, in number 2, what we get is this story that God tells him, hey, this guy's, it ain't going to work for them. This is it. In their due time, they're going to come about and fixing stuff up. And so then you get to the third part over here, in the third part, in the third story, it's like, because he said, I want to take heed to this and put this down on the tablets, put this down, And so over here, he's like, oh man, he's Jesus. He says, what does he start off with? Do we know what he starts off with? Yes, God, because he's going to, what happens? What happens? I think that's true. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. Now, I'm not losing you guys on this. I wanted to show you how this works. When you got a 3, this idea is there was a little bit more to read on that, but this is all I wrote. Because 3 is a combination of God himself, which is number 1, and number 2 becomes God's creation, and 3 becomes a combination of God and his creation. All right? So there's the duality going on, where there's something physical in there and there's something that's spiritual. Some physical and something not so physical. All right? So we get God. God came from Teman. God came from the right hand. That's what Teman means. So God came through the right hand. And the Holy One from Paran. The Holy One came from inside of us and from some beautiful place. This what Paran is, some beautiful place. And it's about leaves. It comes down to lots of leaves, something. And so when I think about um, the seventh chakra, when it opens up in some of these other stories, it's a flower and it's got thousands of petals on it, or something like that, 1,000 petals. If I've not got that incorrectly, that's representing God. And so this is where this beautiful, the Holy One comes from, but we brought it together. It was God came from the right hand first. Now, when this all gets done, he says, the fig tree won't blossom. No fruit in the vine. That's the left side of the brain is representing the body. That's the fig tree. Won't blossom. And so the second side of us is the fruit that gets off of this tree. No fruit on the vine. So goodbye. So here we go again. The labor of something shall fail. The labor of the vine, of the olive. I think that's what it says. The labor of the olive. You're the olive, right? The field shall yield no meat. So remember this. The spiritual side of us is the idea of this: go to meat and to find meat and to get your substance. This is this idea of going inside, drinking from this well, and eating from this vine. And then we get the flock is cut off from the field. The flock is the person, you, the physical side of us, is cut off from the field. That means we can't go into the field. There's no herd in the stall because we've gotten our neighbor drunk and stupid, and he's no longer with us. He's gone. But at the end here, it'll tell you on the end, but I will rejoice in the Lord. I got it. I'm connected to him. Thank God I'm connected to him. But this is another one of those stories that doesn't necessarily say that we're in the best of times. But am I in the right place? Yeah. So it's just another one of those doomsday stories that tells us that, hey, in the due process of time, will he bring us about into some wonderful time of glory? But until then, we have to go through the suffering. We have to go through the gnashing of the teeth. And we have to, blaspheme his name and stuff like that. Yeah. The last one on here is talking about he's going to make my feet like some kind of deer feet. All right. Because he is a prophet, then he has been given these feet that he can go and jump around on the mountains and get around and have a great time. This is the idea that, that he does dwell in the highland. He does have he has access to the high places because his hind feet were made of like deer feet, so he could go and climb about in the mountains and having a great time. So he does rejoice in the Lord. He is connected to the Lord. He's got it all going down. But the rest of the story is about mankind. This is what he's going to do with everyone else. This is the same story with Moses. He says, listen, Moses, I want you and Aaron to go down and tell those people that follow me, and this is what they got to do. And basically, if you understood the idea, it's really just Moses and his family. And so he was the one that sat down and put whatever. Oh yeah, coated the inside of his doorway with the Spirit, with blood of the Spirit of God, and saved himself from the Passover, which hit all the rest of the people on earth. And that's pretty mean shit, man. It's a pretty mean shit. So, as we're gaining more knowledge and interest in the Bible, we are finding that we've all been put under this curse. And the curse, I bring that curse up because that's that idea that, when Jesus was a child, he was going around being a bitch to other people. He said, "Oh yes, someone banged up against him one day, and he said, you will stop in your tracks right now." But then later on, he would just clap his hands and said, "Now everybody be fruitful. Everyone be fruitful now." So he would say that, "I came to curse you, and I've come to save you." So, you follow around the word, do your dealings, grow your hair with Paul, have a great old time. But, one day you're going to meet mom. She's going to kick some ass, right? But she really doesn't. It's a wonderful situation where we get to share the rest of our times at the end of times. We share the rest of our time in a glorious or a more glorious position or place. So, anyways, that's the way it's written. Okay, I love you guys, and I'll chat with you soon. So, there's a reason why people can't get in there. There's a reason why they're not on that side yet. They're still serving the Lord. Do you understand? They're still serving the Lord. Both sides serve this Lord. Very interesting. I love you. I'll see you later.